Well, you did bring up turn the other cheek, and so I think that needs to be unpacked because we are in a theological context here, and so the Walter Wink exercise would work really well here. Uh, turning the other cheek, there's a whole exercise we have to do this, but we really need to be in person to demonstrate it. And so we're obviously not in person. So I'm going to try and explain it really quick and hope that we get something of the effect of the in-person thing. So when we talk about turning the other cheek, that's been one of the most misinterpreted passages of the New Testament. We assume that it means to just continue submitting to violence and abuse. Someone abuses you, then turn the other cheek and just keep taking it. So that's obviously wrong. It just feels wrong in our souls. Like we know that's wrong, and it is wrong. So it's a violation of compassion. And so what's really going on here, and this comes to us from Walter Wink, who was a New Testament scholar and then became a nonviolent advocate. And what's going on here is actually a misperception because of a lack of understanding of the historical context. So in that context, what's going on is that, and it would have been understood by everyone attending, is that when the context of turning the other cheek in the parable has to do with the difference between someone who's in power and someone who's an inferior. So a man and a woman, or a Jew and a Gentile, or Roman rather, and these sorts of power differentials. And so when you're talking about turning the other cheek, so what happens here is that you in the ancient world, you would never hit an equal with an open hand, because that would bring a lot of fines and that sort of thing. Or you never hit him with a backhand, because that would bring a lot of fines, because it's kind of it's a slap that's meant to humiliate. And so you are only allowed to use your right hand, because the left hand is actually an impure hand or a dirty hand and that kind of thing. And so you wouldn't ever hit anybody with your left hand. And so the effect is that you can only hit this person with a backhand with using your right hand. So it's a backhanded slap. And so that's what shows that this is a relationship where there's a large power indifference. And so if I, as the person in power, am slapping you on your where it's the right cheek, so then your head turns to the right. And so at this point, you've been slapped, and you can either run away in defeat, which is to succumb to the indignity of the situation. So that's not really a palatable decision. You could turn and fight and hit your superior, but that would also result in potentially your death because of the power in differences. And so your other option then is to take this third way, or this alternative way that Jesus is trying to demonstrate. And so if you're standing in that posture where your right hand has been, or you've been slapped with a backhand by the right hand, and you're standing here, and the only thing you can do then is to turn your cheek, then you turn your head to turn the other cheek. And at this point, the person is standing more like claiming their own power and their own dignity, and saying, basically, you're trying to humiliate me, but I'm not going to let you do that. And so for me as the aggressor in this position, my only choice then would be to hit you, but since you've turned the other cheek, I can only hit you with a forward hand slap. I can't do another backhand because I can't use my left hand. You've turned the cheek, so the cheek that I can backhand is hidden behind the posture. And so if I do that, it would be to acknowledge you as an equal. So this would obviously hurt a lot, but it would be to be acknowledged as an equal. So this would be to claim your dignity. And so this really demonstrates the power of nonviolence, the power of claiming your own dignity, and the power of turning the other cheek in these kinds of situations where you refuse to dehumanize the other person, you refuse to dehumanize yourself, and you claim your own dignity through nonviolent means. And so that's a really rough and dirty version of this exercise. But that
we
basically
usually do it.
Yeah,
I was gonna say we usually do it like together in actual space, so it's a little bit easier to get. But I thought it looked good.
Yeah. So but the gist of this here is that it's been just radically misunderstood. And so this would have been understood by everyone listening to Jesus preach in the Beatitudes. sorry, I'm on Sermon on the Mount. And so it's a very powerful story of how to nonviolently claim your dignity and to stand up in the face of oppression.